Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is my day 10 session. Sorry, there has been long gap after day 9 and day 10, in between day 9 and day 10, because of some unwanted situation, but I'll certainly ensure that I'll continue from to day 10 to all the session which is a part of my DevOps full course program. Okay, so I welcome everyone again in day 10 session. In day 10 today's session, I'm going to talk about GitHub and its very important commands. In my day 9 session, I've already given the benefits of GitHub, and also its competitors, along with some of the other features, some of the other important things which you need to know about GitHub even before you begin working on GitHub. In today's session, I'm going to explain about all the very important commands. So in case if someone has joined in only this is the first time someone is joining in my session, then I strongly insist, please go ahead and watch from day 1 to day 9. It's very important. And if you feel as if my videos are good enough and can help someone else, please share it with others also. And in case if you did not subscribe my channel, please subscribe the channel also. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin. So now the first thing which you need to understand is how do you initialize even Git versioning in your machine. Now in our last session, what we have seen is how to install Git, right? So in today's session, I'm going to show you how to initialize version controlling after you have installed it. So in order to do that, let's go back to our terminal. This is my Ubuntu terminal, which I'm commonly using from my day one session itself. And I've also covered my Linux shell scripting also. So please go back and have a check on that. Okay, let's focus on today's session again. So now, in order to initialize version controlling in your machine, the first thing which you have to do is you have to create a directory where you want to initialize your version controlling. So in order to do that, there is a Linux command which which we have already discussed in past. That is mkdir, and I'll keep a directory which is with the name git demo. So this will be the first step. Whenever you want to initialize version controlling in your machine, ensure that you have a proper folder created where you want to initialize your version controlling. So as I've done this with mkdir command, now I'll get into this directory by using cd git demo. Why even I'm doing this? There is a logic, because whenever you are creating any code for your company or creating code for any application, you'd organize your code at a specific place. It won't be spread across any of the location in your machine, right? So it must be present at some specific location, some specific folder only in your machine. And that is where this thing comes to create a specific directory where you're going to initialize version controlling. So now this is the place where I want to initialize my version controlling, and it's absolutely blank. Now, the first thing which I'm going to do is I'll create a file. I'll create any file which contains some specific code or some specific application related code. For example, think about the Zoom application. Zoom application will certainly have some code at the back end, or maybe some Linux code itself, Linux operating system code itself, which is written by the great Linus Torvalds. So now let's think about writing some sort of application code. For example, let's say my first code, for example, I'm writing a code for zoom.txt, and I'm just keeping it a format as .txt. It can be in any format. So now as I do this, I'll give a name to avoid any conflicts with Zoom. I'll just give it some other name. Maybe I'll just name it as sample app.txt. Okay, so now what I'll do is I will just write something. Consider that this is my first line of code, which is, for example, I'll say, so I written something a plus b, some sort of code I have written a plus b, or say the code which I have written in this sample app is just to initiate or just to start online meeting. So this is my first version of code wherein I have just in the feature of sample app, I've just added a feature of starting online meeting, scheduling and starting online, scheduling and start online meeting. That's it. Now save and come out of this. As of now, this is just a file. This is just a file. This specific directory does not have any version controlling initialized. This is just a file. This is not getting tracked by anything. Now I will start tracking it. In order to start tracking it, I'll execute the command git init. Now the command git init says initializing it. You see what the prompt says? It says that initialized empty git repository in this specific folder. Now, as I have executed this git init command, in turn it has created a folder which is .git, and underlying .git there are number of other folders, which is number of other folders such as branches, description, hooks, infos, objects. So whatever we do in git, whatever git tracks is because of all the underlying folders which is within git. So the file which I have created just now is getting tracked because of this .git only. So this is one of the way you can just check in case if any directory do have version controlling initialized or not. In order for git to initialize version controlling or git to track any file, .git is mandatory. Remember this. So now I have created a file. Initially, I had created a file. What was the name of the file? The name of the file I've given is sampleapp.txt, which is this. Now, in order to check if Git is tracking this or not, I'll execute the command git status, and by executing the command git status, I get to know yes, the Git is tracking this file sampleapp.txt now. And what it says, Git is a wonderful tool, wonderful application. What it does is it doesn't only tell you where your file is at this point, but it also tells you what is the next set of command which you need to execute to move forward. Now, what it says, yes, the file is in untracked file list, which is with the name sampleapp.txt. And the next command, in case if you want to track it, you just execute the command git add. So Git tells you, okay, Git gives us a chance to check, okay, uh, is this intentional that I have created this file sampleapp.txt, or it's intentional and I don't want to move ahead with it. In case if I want to move ahead with it, then execute the command git add. In case if I don't want to move ahead with it, then simply go ahead and delete it. No worries about that. Okay, so now in order to move ahead and want to just proceed with further steps of Git and further steps of Git committing, I'll just follow the step which is given by Git. It says that execute git add command. Now what I'll do, git add, and I'll say sample app.txt. And as I hit enter, again, if I execute, and git status is very, very important command, because git status gives you idea about where your file is actually at any point of time. Now, as I executed git status command, now you see the color of the file change in the first place. And also what it says is it doesn't say anymore that the file is untracked. It says the file is getting tracked by Git, but the changes are yet to be committed. So now in order to commit, what I'll do, I'll execute the command git commit -m, which is just the message, just the commit message. And I'll say my first version first version of commit. Consider that with this app, for this application sample app, the first version is having the feature of scheduling the meeting and starting the meeting. So this is the first version of my commit. Now, as I have executed the command commit, what happened? The code for my first version is placed there in my local version control system. Now, if I say ls sampleapp.txt exist, if I say git status, it's not having any commit which is not tracked or which is changed at this point of time, which you do not push to local version control system. Nothing as such exists at this point of time. So where your code goes, what happens to your code, what happens, how Git is tracking it. So anyways, you know that Git is tracking with the presence of .git directory, right? So .git directory, even in .git directory, there is another directory which is objects. Objects. Now everything what you do, everything, all the tracks which you make, all the files which you create is getting tracked under the objects. It's considered as an object for Git and is getting tracked here. Fair enough. Now let's see the logs. Eventually what happens is when you start working on Git, lots of logs gets generated and you can see all the logs here. So when I execute git log command, it says this is the user. This user has created first version of the commit. And in case if you want to see what is done with this commit, just copy the commit ID and just copy the commit ID and you execute the command git show and paste the commit ID. That's it. And as you hit enter, it says that with the first commit, whose commit ID is this, which is created by this user. You see, it gives the date and time also. Also, it says that with this specific commit, this line is added. Scheduling and starting online meeting. This line has been added with this specific commit. Okay. So now you see the Git is tracking everything. Git is tracking what the changes you have done. Git is tracking what all things you have brought in with in the scope of Git. Everything is getting tracked by Git at this point of time. Now, let me quickly clear my screen because I'm going to explain something very, very important now. Now, what happens in case if you want to make more of the changes? Because eventually what happens is as your first version of the code is released, you'll start thinking about bringing more of the changes, second version, third version, fourth version, fifth version, so on and so forth. And in order to make those changes, what you will do, you will again edit your file, which is sample app.txt. Now let's add some more lines to it. I want to add few more lines. I want to add the feature of video calling or audio and video calling. Audio and video calling feature I want to add with my existing app of sample app. Okay. Now let's save and come out. Now Git tells, Git gives us the facility to check what all changes you have done, because as of now I'm just writing one line of code. In real time it can be 50, 100, 200, 500 lines of code which you would have written, and even before you commit you'd like to see what all changes you have done. And in order to do that, Git offers a command which is git diff. Now you see, by executing git diff, you get to know, okay, this is the line which you have added recently, adding audio and video calling facility. So this is the line which pre-existed, scheduling and start online meeting, and this is the line which you have added recently, audio and video calling facility. So Git offers you this facility. Now Git also allows you to add more of the features. Now if I execute again our git status command, it says that I'm modifying sample.txt. For the last time when I did what it said, the file is untracked, but it doesn't say that file is untracked because file is already present in local version control system. We have already executed git commit command once. Now the file is already getting tracked, but the file is modified because I'm adding more lines in existing file. And with these new lines, I'm trying to add audio and video calling facility to existing application, which is with the name sample app. So everything is in place here. Everything is getting tracked by Git. Now, in order to again let Git track of these modified changes, I'll say git add, and again I'll say sample or app.txt, the name of the file. Now, ls. Now, there could be another situation here. I'm just explaining more of the situation. Now, consider that at this point of time, when you have tracked, when you have just moved the file a level ahead, and now you want to see what the changes you have done. At this point of time, if you execute git diff command, then it doesn't give any output. After you have executed git add command to the file which you have modified, now at this point of time, if I execute git diff command, it is not going to work. You see, when I executed, it did not give me any output. Why? Because the file is staged at this point of time. In order to see the differences in the file, when the file is staged, you have to just add one more flag to your existing command, which is hyphen hyphen staged. As I put this command, as I put this flag, you see now it says me, okay, this is the line which you have recently added in this file. So two scenarios you have seen with git diff usage. First scenario, when the file is modified and it's very recent, you have made changes in the file. And second scenario, when you have executed git add command and the file is staged. At both the scenarios, how will you see changes which you have made in the file? Okay, so now again, the final thing is to add git commit hyphen m, and now you see second version, some commit message. Again, if I execute git log command, it tells me this time that this is my first version of commit, this is my second version of commit, and with both the versions I have brought in some of the other features. Now what we have learned, let's quickly summarize. We have learned what is git init. We have learned the first thing which we have learned is what is git init. So with git init, what we are going to do, with get in, what we have learned with get init, we are going to just initialize the version controlling system. This will be the first thing which we will do. We will initialize the version controlling system. After that we are going to add the after that we are going to add it add the execute the git add command so that file moves to next stage. And finally we are going to execute git commit command so that the file is finally committed. After that, we have learned git diff command. By using git diff command, we have learned that we will be able to see all the changes which is made in the file. And then we have learned how to execute what happens when we execute git log command. By executing git log command, we will get all the commits which we have done, all the changes which we have done can be listed in a log format. Now, as of now, that's fair enough that we have only two commits, but in real time, there can be 200, 2000 commits. Who knows? There can be so many commits when you are creating this specific feature, when you are creating this specific application. It will be very tough to just get all the contents, all the logs, all the commits which you have done listed in a single page. It will be very lengthy output. So what Git says is, in case if you want to see the short form, some abbreviated format of Git log, you can do that. And in order to do that, you just have to add another flag hyphen hyphen one line. When you execute git log in very simple terms, when you execute git log, it gives multi-line output, right? Like the way you see now, multi-line output. But in case if you want to see single line output or one line output, you will add a flag one line. And as you hit enter, you will see one line output for both the commits which you have done. Now you can have a question that, hey, do we have a two line or three line or four line output? No, my friend, there is no flag like two line, three line or four line along with git log. There is only one flag which is with the name hyphen hyphen one line. In hyphen hyphen one line, you will get one line output of your git log. You see, just the one line output. It contains first I think 7 characters of your commit id, and after that just the commit message what you have given in hyphen m. Okay, fair enough. Now let's move on. So now you have seen very, very important things. See, friends, there can be many commands in Git, and in different videos, you will see plenty of commands in Git. But in real time, when you start working on Git, these are the commands which we will be executing very, very frequently. These all the commands which I am covering in this topic in my day 10 session is the one which you will be using very, very, very frequently. Very frequently you will be using. 90% of time you will be executing only these commands which I'm covering in my data session. Okay, fair enough. Now, whatever you have done remains in your local. But as I've said in my previous session also, that Git is not only about having one developer working at a place. Git is about sharing the code with multiple developers, so the developers at different places will be able to use it, will be able to communicate, contribute, and collaborate with each other. Because that is what going to happen. This sample app, which is a video calling facility, audio calling facility, which is the meeting which is going to provide you the facility to schedule and start meeting so that a group of people can join in, is not the application which can be developed by one single application. Zoom application, Teams application, all the application which you can think about, your Google Talk application, WhatsApp application is not developed by any single developer. It is developed by plenty of developers. And it is not mandatory that all the developers are sitting at a common place when they are working on it. But yes, it is very, very important that whatever the code which is developed by all the developers should interact with each other, finally finally work along with each other, right? Should finally work along with each other. And how that part can be done, so all the developers, so developer one have added, so consider that I do have two developers. I have two developers, developer one, I have developer two. Developer one has done its own commit. Developer one has done commit. Developer 2 has done its own commit. But finally, what should happen is they should share their code with each other. And how they will share their code with each other? With the use of a remote repository, which is called GitHub. So they should share their code with each other with the use of a remote repository, which is called GitHub. And that is what I'm going to cover in my day 10 session also. So I strongly insist and request everyone to watch entire session. Do not leave anything in between, because if you're leaving things in between, you won't get the entire understanding of how the local content of the file, how a developer's local content finally moves to remote repository. Now, in order to move your local content to remote repository, the first thing which you have to do is you have to have your account created in GitHub. This is my GitHub account. Now, when you are creating your GitHub account, it might be blank. It won't have these many commits or these many files on its dashboard. But you should understand first how to create a GitHub account. In order to create a GitHub account, I'll quickly show you. So you just go to google.com and just type there GitHub. Just type GitHub. And as you type GitHub, it says sign up to GitHub. Second option in github.com, sign up to GitHub. Click on that. As you click on that, it's going to ask your email, password, username, country, continue. It's absolutely free of cost. It's not going to charge you even a single penny. So please go ahead and create your account there in GitHub so that you will be able to just share your code and push your code to remote repositories so that everyone will be able to access it. All the collaborators, all the contributors will be able to access it. Okay, so signing up is super easy task. You just create your account and then you are good to go and do anything which you wish to do on your GitHub repository. Now, once your account is created, once you are signed up, after that you will sign in, and after you sign in, like the way I said, your dashboard will be blank to begin with. Now, in order to create your first repository, you will see here the plus symbol. Now, just beside the plus symbol, there is a drop down icon, drop down sign. Click on the drop down sign, and you see the first option which says new repository. Click on that new repository. As you click on the new repository, it says the owner, this is my account ID, DevOps CNG129. And here it's asking me give a repository name. I'm going to give a repository name as Day10 session. Just a repository name, any name you can give. Now you can give some description also. This is my Day10 session. Okay. And let's keep it public. So there are two ways you can create a repository. Either you can create a public repository or you can create a private repository. If you are creating a private repository, then normally the private repository incurs some amount of charges. More than one private repository, I think there's some charges which GitHub imposes when you create more private repository, but public repository is absolutely free of cost. You can create n number of public repository. There's not no charges involved in that. Now, just check this box, add a README file because you don't want to create an empty repository. So add a README file, check this box. And as you check this box, after that, hit on create a repository. As you click on create repository, you see a repository has been created. It is having a README file in it. And the README file, the content of a README file is just what I kept in my description. This is my Day10 session. So I've created a repository. As of now, the content which is present in my local version control system in this console is not present there. This is having two things. If I say git log, this is having two commit IDs. You see these two commit IDs. If I say git log hyphen hyphen one line in abbreviated format, this is having two commits, but these two commits are not present in my remote repository yet, right? It is having only one commit. Now, how will I push that? That is important thing. In order to push your your local thing, the one which is present locally with you to remote repository, the first thing which you have to do is you have to just create a remote repository. You have just to create a link. Now, in order to create a link, what you will do, you just copy this. You see, I have just clicked on this code, and beside code, there is a drop down. I just clicked on that and I just copied this. This is the icon. Once you click on that, you will be able to copy the URL. Now, after that, I will have to execute the command git remote add origin and give this URL git remote add origin and the URL which I have copied from there. This is another very, very important command which you have to execute every now and then when you're working on it. Now, if I say git remote hyphen v to check if the connection has been established or not, yes, the connection has been established. Here I can see that URL which I've copied from there. right, which I've copied from there, that I can see here. Now with this, I will be able to just do something. I'll be able to push all the contents to remote repository. Now here there is some restrictions which Git imposes on you. Git says that yes, you will be able to just establish connectivity, but in order to push to remote repository, there is some level of security which I'm going to impose, which I'm going to just apply on your version control system. Okay, so to talk about those security, because those security things are very, very much important, I strongly insist everyone to just watch these videos and reach till point before I move on to the security section. So I'll cover the security content, how those security step is established. There are two ways to establish that security. Basically, one is by using SSH and another is by using your token. Both the both the types I'm going to explain in my next session. Thank you everyone for watching this session. Again, if anyone is watching this session for the first time, go ahead and watch the session from day 1 to day 9 again, so that you will understand the entire context. And please share the videos to everyone to whom you think will be benefited with my videos. Thank you.